with Colortrak in Miami. I'm Hailey Mahone at Hailey Mahone Hair.
And I'm Rachel La Roux at Rachel La Roux.
All right, so our beautiful model Bianca was already pre-lightened in the first part of this video, and we're gonna do kind of a dark grunge mermaidy vibe look on her.
Very gym tone, very deep tones. In the areas that did not lift as light, we're going to concentrate our darker tones, and then in these areas around the face that got extra light, we're going to be using magenta so that we have a lot of pop. So we'll be melting purple into magenta to kind of get rid of some of the gold tones, but also get to keep that light pink pop.
All right, let's get into it. So we just did a really simple 4-quadrant parting right here behind the ear, and then from the center of the crown down to the nape. And this one just the same as the other side. So the colors that we're mixing, we're doing really dark jewel tone colors to kind of work off of her natural base. We're doing some blues, purples, greens, and a magenta color. And with this is a direct dye, so we don't really need developer. It's non-oxidative. You just really apply it almost like a stain, and it processes without any kind of developer nor heat.
So we're going to be working in the front first, starting with the front sections, and then what we're going to do is start at the base, and we're going to work the areas that are darker with our darker tones, and the magenta is going to be a really cool pop.
We're using our Colortrak meshes as like a base layer to hide underneath, so it keeps our cape nice and clean.
So for a color melting, what I like to do is usually we'll start with our lighter color at the bottom, and then we'll work our way up. So we're going to be melting purple into the pink, and a really cool way to do that is to melt the two tones together. What I like to do is work my brush back and forth versus all the way down the hair shaft, because that spreads the color a lot faster, and I really want to concentrate it just in this area. So we'll basically just be going back and forth like this to blend in those sections, and then you take your 2 fingers and just kind of finger blend that in there.
And the beautiful thing about this is that Rachel and I are totally different. Yes. Because I do my dark to light, but I like to use the back of my hand as a separate palette, so I can start with the light color, with the blue, like the darker color already there, and then I take my fingers and kind of melt them together. Same kind of premise, just a little bit different.
Whatever works best for you. It could actually turn out the exact same colors. We just always like to do whatever's more comfortable for us. So for me, I like to start from the bottom. She likes to start from the top.
I like to create both melt and solid panel colors just to kind of create depth throughout the hair, so it's not all one solid melt. It kind of gives the illusion that it makes the hair kind of look thicker actually.
So what we do with the darker tones is I go directly over the brown because it deepens it a little bit and gives that gloss a more even flow. Brace is just trying to make right where her hair is light. So I like to actually put it over her dark as well.
Yeah, because even though it's dark, there's still some pieces in there that have some lighter dimension, and it could potentially look a little weird next to something that has really vibrant colors if it's a little brassy.
So in the front section, we're just doing a solid pink, just right here where she has that lighter tone. We call that the money piece, the pop.
Another tip is to make sure that you have a towel always when doing a vivid color, especially if it's multiple colors, because you need to wipe your hands constantly so these colors don't get muddy.
And of course, we like to be messy, but it doesn't mean that your client wants to be messy. So if you get it on your cool white apron, that's great, but we want to make sure that we don't melt those colors together when we're doing that, so that's why we use that towel.
And as I'm working up the head, I'm making sure that my sections are just dense enough that I can kind of see through it. You want to make sure with these colors you have really good saturation.
Like Hailey said, saturation is super important, so when you go to check to make sure everything is thoroughly saturated, not only should you roll your thumb and index together this way down the hair shaft, but also separate it, because you'll be able to see if there's anything dry left in there still. So then you can go back and saturate that thoroughly. When you're working with direct dyes, you want to try and make sure that your saturation is thorough, because you won't have a ton of time to go back. Usually a color with a direct dye encapsulates after about 20 minutes, so it won't lose its workability after about 15-20 minutes. So you want to make sure that that thorough saturation is checked before you move on to your next section.
So these are Colortrak's meshes, and they are used for multi-purpose actually. You can use them as you work up the hair to separate the colors so they don't bleed. If you have like a yellow and a blue next to each other and you don't want to make a green out of that right now, you can separate the hair as you work up. With these colors, we're not too worried about them bleeding, so we can feel free to lay the hair on top of each other. But I always like to use a mesh, even when I balayage and stuff, just to make sure that my cape stays clean, because a messy cape really bothers me. So I like to have a clean area to work with.
So I really like the mini glitter brush from Colortrak. It comes in a really cool set. These bowls are not only my favorite because they're tiny and it's good for color melting because you sometimes don't need a ton of vivid colors, but they also lock together. So they can lock up to like 5 or 6 bowls I think I've locked together. So it comes with 3 bowls and 3 of these little brushes in different colors.
All right, so we've got her color on, and now we just need to process for about 20 minutes at room temperature. And once we're done processing, we're gonna rinse her with the coldest water that we have available, and no shampoo, just conditioner, and we'll be good to go.
So to check out our final look, go to colortrak.com or head on over to our Instagram page at Colortrak. To also see the final look, check it out on Instagram at Rachel La Roux
and at Hailey Mahone Hair.